Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. No, we're not in Alice in Wonderland. It might look like that.
Feel like that.
We shrunk. Land of the Giants. So we're at another famous landmark in London. Does anyone know what it is behind us?
If you do, you can put it in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the comments. Let's see what you know. Not that this is a geography class or anything.
Such a big landmark, though. We couldn't get it all in the shot and get us in the shot, so.
All right. Canto 3, Chapter 26, Text 60. Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
There's a man cutting the grass.
He said it would take him a couple of hours to come over into this area. Now we see he's going to be mowing the grass and making noise right beside us the whole time.
Anyway, we'll be quick.
All right, let's go.
60. Next grew feelings of hunger and thirst, and in their wake came the manifestation of the oceans. Then a heart became manifest, and in the wake of the heart the mind appeared. Purport. The ocean is considered to be the presiding deity of the abdomen, where the feelings of hunger and thirst originate. When there is an irregularity in hunger and thirst, one is advised, according to Ayurvedic treatment, to take a bath in the ocean.
Interesting. It sounds like I was reminded of like Brighton. Brighton used to be a place where all the aristocratic people would go and bathe in the ocean. It was considered to be like a healing place, a place for so like that, you know, we can see the water is definitely healing for sure. And to get here today, we took a little boat journey.
But the Thames isn't so healing.
Well,
you wouldn't want to take a dip in the Thames.
Well, just riding on it.
But I'm just thinking about the origin, because a lot of these things have their origin, if not all, in the Vedas, or just like that culture. So then you have, originally people, and still do, would go to the Yamuna, to the Ganges, like this, the holy waters, for everything, you know, for the spiritual benefits, for this and that. And then you wonder how, you know, that came. So now people do that, like you said, in Brighton, or they dip in water. But do they, you know, the origin must have come from there, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting, the whole point of hunger and thirst becoming the manifestation of the oceans. I guess thirst, you could understand thirst from the perspective that it's obviously water, a large body of water to satisfy that principle of thirst. Hunger, I guess, in one sense, all food grains subsist on rains, right? So the rains, because of these bodies of water, are evaporated into the air, and then they're ultimately cause the rains, which gives life to all the food, everything that we eat. So, anyway, just trying to understand a little bit.
Yeah, and also sometimes you can get so hungry, it's like you could eat so much like it fill a whole ocean. So hungry, it's like a hole in your stomach, like a big ocean.
Okay, should we move on?
Yeah.
Text 61. After the mind, the moon appeared. Intelligence appeared next, and after intelligence, Lord Brahma appeared. Then the false ego appeared, and then Lord Shiva. And after the appearance of Lord Shiva came consciousness and the deity presiding over consciousness. Purport. The moon appeared after the appearance of the mind, and this indicates that the moon is the presiding deity of mind. Similarly, Lord Brahma appeared after intelligence. Similarly, Lord Brahma, appearing after intelligence, is the presiding deity of intelligence. And Lord Shiva, who appears after false ego, is the presiding deity of false ego. In other words, it is indicated that the moon god is in the mode of goodness, whereas Lord Brahma is in the mode of passion, and Lord Shiva in the mode of ignorance. So I'm just going to stop there for a second. A couple of things. One is that, remember previously we were talking about the mind being in the mode of goodness, and this intelligence being in the mode of passion, like that. So here's another explanation of how that's there. Interesting point. Also, the mind and its effect. We know that someone who has kind of lost their mind, or is out of their mind, or just, in the olden days you might say crazy, they would be called a
lunatic.
A lunatic. Luna coming from the term lunar, meaning to do with the moon. So interesting. So, because you were saying so many things equate back to the Vedic principles. The appearance of consciousness after the appearance of false ego indicates that from the beginning, material consciousness is under the mode of ignorance. That one therefore has to purify himself by purifying his consciousness. This purificatory process is called Krishna consciousness. As soon as the consciousness is purified, the false ego disappears. Identification of the body with the self is called false identification, or false ego. Lord Chaitanya confirms this in his Shikshastak. He states that the first result of chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, is that dirt is cleared from the consciousness, or the mirror of the mind. And then at once the blazing fire of material existence is over. The blazing fire of material existence is due to false ego. But as soon as the false ego is removed, one can understand his real identity. At that point, he is actually liberated from the clutches liberated from the clutches of Maya. As soon as one is freed from the clutches of false ego, his intelligence also becomes purified, and then his mind is always engaged upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any thoughts?
No.
Anyway, this is the process of purification. Chanting Hare Krishna, purifying the mirror of the mind, the consciousness becomes purified. Consciousness seems to be here stated that it's generally, and I guess this is material consciousness, not the pure consciousness of the soul, but the contaminated embodied consciousness is generally in the mode of ignorance. So our tendency with our consciousness is to default to degraded, I guess, negative, derogatory consciousness, and therefore the process of Krishna consciousness is to help ourselves to try to keep ourselves in the positive. Remember that talk once by Sridham and Kishori? They were talking about the measurement of our consciousness, that if you're not really thinking about Krishna, but you're also not thinking derogatorily or negatively, then you're just at a zero. And if you think about kind of service-related activities, then you're kind of at a +1. And if you're thinking directly about Krishna, then your consciousness is actually at a +2. But if you think negatively or thinking derogatorily, or just a kind of a little bit averse, not necessarily averse to the principles of devotional service, but negatively, then you're a -1. And if you're thinking aversely, or you could say an aparad of devotional service, offensively, then you're a -2. So in this way we can measure, where's our consciousness at? Are we just a general, like I'm brushing my teeth in the morning and I'm barely awake, that's a 0. But if I start to think, God, I hate this life, I hate this world, then you're going negative. Or if you start to think, oh yeah, I'm brushing my teeth because when I brush my teeth, I can chant the holy name and think of Krishna, you're +1. And then if you start to think, oh yeah, Krishna used to clean his teeth with a twig, a neem twig in the morning, or Lord Chaitanya, then you're in the +2. So it's like, we have to be in control of our consciousness, otherwise it's almost always just going to degrade to be negative. That makes sense?
Yeah, it's true, it does.
But it's easier said than done, right?
Yes.
That's for sure.
For sure.
But, just like Arjuna said in the Gita, right, it's more difficult to control the mind than the raging wind. That Krishna says, yes, but by suitable practice and detachment. It means we have to try, we have to practice, we have to try. And we have to be detached from the fact that sometimes it isn't going to work and we're going to fall the other way, and we just still carry on trying. I think that's the way I would see it. Makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, and also we can help ourselves by checking our association. Is it draining me? Is it good for me? Also, because sometimes what worked for us back then may not work now in terms of association. You may need to move on to a different crowd. Also, I find when I get a bit down or thoughts are coming in that are not so positive, then I start to put some class or a kirtan on, and I may be doing other stuff, but the sound vibration around me at least is like something positive. If that makes sense. I find that helps for me. I've always sort of done that.
Nice, very nice. Read the
next paragraph. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared on the full moon day as Gaura Chandra, or the spotless transcendental moon. The material moon has spots on it, but the transcendental moon, Gaura Chandra, there are no spots. In order to fix the purified mind in the service of the Supreme Lord, one has to worship the spotless moon, Gaura Chandra. Those who are materially passionate, or those who want to exhibit the intelligence for material advancement in life, are generally worshippers of Lord Brahma, and persons who are in the gross ignorance of identifying with the body worship Lord Shiva. Materialists like Hiranyakashipu and Ravan are worshippers of Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva. But Prahlad and other devotees in the service of Krishna consciousness worship the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead.
Any thoughts?
So it says here, we have to worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in order to purify the mind.
That kind of.
We can do that by chanting Hare Krishna.
Yes. Or recently, because actually, if you want, we'll put a link to our Bhakti Reflections WhatsApp group. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put a link for the Bhakti Reflections WhatsApp group. Every day I send out a reflection from some readings in different books about chanting the holy name. And recently, you remember the ones that were going out were all about how important it is to focus on Lord Chaitanya, right? And how before we start chanting, we chant the mantra Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivedanta. And how important that mantra is, and how important it is that we consciously take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. So I was just reminded of that. So this Bhakti Reflections WhatsApp group, it's an admin only. So I send out the messages. No one can send messages. You can reply with those little emoji things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't disturb everybody else. And so it's just a message each day, and usually it comes early in the morning, and I've been getting really positive feedback, and it's nice to have as a meditation for chanting japa each day. So we'll share that, but yeah, that
I'll put it in the description box.
Okay. Let's read one more.
Yeah, read one more.
Okay, these guys next door are really noisy. Tearing things down.
As soon as we sit down, life just...
Yeah, we came here, it was so peaceful. All of a sudden the guy starts a lawnmower, then these guys start tearing stuff up. We need to get here at like 6 in the morning, you know. Okay, so last one, this is text 62, 26th chapter. When the demigods and presiding deities of the various senses were thus manifested, they wanted to wake their origin of appearance. But upon failing to do so, they re-entered the body of the Virat Purusha, one after another, in order to wake him. Okay, interesting. Purport. In order to wake the sleeping deity controller within, one has to rechannel the sense activities from concentration on the outside to concentration inside. Wow, this is wonderful. In the following verses, the sense activities which are required to wake the Virat Purusha will be explained very nicely. Okay, so from text, from here up to text 70, I think, is explaining the awakening of the Virat Purusha. But it's very nice. I like this statement so much. In order to wake the sleeping deity controller within. That's nice, huh?
Yeah.
One has to rechannel the sense activities from concentration on the outside, concentration on the inside.
Yeah,
very,
very
very powerful. That's awesome. I
Very
like that so much.
The answers are within.
Yeah. And I mean, but we rechannel the senses, so you still have to use the sense activities.
You don't negate, like some people, just chanting Om and staring into space.
Yeah, very nice. Okay.
All right, everybody.
Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki
Jai.
Jai. Haribol.
Haribol.